I work for an organization called Nsbidi Institute, and we're here really today to just share our experiences from Nigeria, which you can see faintly highlighted there, for those of you who are not particularly great with geography. Well, I'm kind of making an admission myself as well. But we're really here because we understand that there are things happening here in Nairobi that we can learn and share from. And we also understand that from our own context, that's Lagos, there's this little sliver of land that is known for being one of the most notorious cities in the world. But at the same time, so much is happening in the city that a lot of people aren't really hearing about. And we're thinking, how do we scale up social innovation? How do we make better uses of resources? How do we ensure that at the end of the day, we're actually delivering the kinds of innovations that people really need? So a lot of what I'm going to be saying today is really just giving you some perspective on Lagos as a city, and how I relate or understand that context. So Africa right now, as was said earlier, is going through a series of different transformations, a lot of which make it a great place actually to start using innovative solutions. We have urbanization that is booming, meaning that we are actually able to concentrate our energies and resources in particular spaces. We have new technologies which enable us to be more productive and to also engage people in participatory governance. And at the same time, we have all these wonderful things about Nigeria. We're the largest economy in Africa, and we're actually diversifying our economy. But there are all these social contradictions that I experience on a daily basis in various ways, which actually, for me, mean that Lagos is not doing so well. We have massive cases of inequality. 55 of the billionaires in Africa are from Nigeria. 55 of Africa's billionaires, 23 are actually from Nigeria, yet 63 million people in the country don't have access to water. So there's this huge discrepancy between how it is that we function as a city and what our capacities and potential really is. But the great thing about Lagos is there's always hustle. You go anywhere in the city and people are finding creative solutions to meet their employment needs, to create, to bring electricity to their homes, to find new jobs, to cater for their own healthcare and all things like that. But at the same time, we know that in order to really galvanize and ensure that we are moving productively, we need to start thinking a bit more strategically. Lagos is a vibrant space. We have about all of 250 ethnicities in Nigeria represented there, as well as people from all over the world. So it's actually great if you're thinking about impact in the region. At the same time, there's a lot of resources that are pouring into the city, and all of this makes Lagos a very exciting place. Sorry. So this is, again, just giving you some context. Unfortunately, the pictures aren't particularly clear, but what we're trying to focus on is how to ensure that we make the most of our geographical and historical advantage, and to really start addressing our social needs. This is, it's a funny little picture. It's one of the ways in which people try to seek for employment. This is just an open street market, and yet people are selling lingerie, and someone is advertising to be a sales girl there, or wanting to seek out a sales. And you have this happening all over the city. We're extremely entrepreneurial. We're always finding ways to, a lot of people here, I'm sure you've met a Nigerian before, and you know what they're like. They're very loud. They always have an opinion about everything, and they don't take no for an answer. So this is what we're actually trying to harness, to really say, okay, how do we push this forward? This is the city in numbers, 21 million people. I think there are about 4 million people in Nairobi, if I'm correct. So think about it in terms of scale. And that we have at least 500,000 people coming into the city every day, whether it's every year. So either by migration or just natural population growth. The cost, how many of you guys have heard of Nigerian weddings or seen an image of it? I'm sure you know what it's like. We have our huge we are very expressive people. We always find ways of making sure that you recognize that we're there. At the same time, we're very connected. Right now in Lagos, it's hard to find someone who doesn't have a mobile phone. In fact, people usually have 2 or 3 different handsets. And what does that mean in terms of actually engaging with people? What does that mean in terms of being able to put together strategies that have a citywide effect? And what happens when you are able to gather 300,000 people in one space every week in a place in Lagos? This happens in our mega churches. So we're really talking about impact at scale. So this is a congregation. It's not actually it's a choir for a particular church, just to give you an idea of what we're having to deal with here. So I'm going to very quickly talk about what I think the opportunities are. And like I said earlier, we are an increasingly digitally connected community. We have people who are very active on social media. We have people who have access to internet and who are using these tools in very innovative ways. And these are creating, like I said, new tools for synergy and expression. I know of examples of people who organize, I don't know if you know about the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, that global campaign. A lot of that was actually organized via social media. We also have a largely young and enabled demographic. We have about 85 million people in Nigeria that are between the ages of 18 and 34. And a lot of them, some of them are actually coming from the US and returning back to Nigeria from all over Europe and all over the world, and bringing with them new skills, new ideas, and access to a global network. We also have, like I said, the rise of our creative economies. A lot of you have heard of Nollywood, but there are other things happening in fashion, things happening in radio, things happening even in e-commerce as well. So there's a lot going on. And I've just tried to paint the context for you. I hope you've been following me. But I'm going to let Malaika now come in and just explain a little bit more about what we mean when we talk about social innovation.
What I want to kind of bring out is, for us, social innovation is sometimes born out of necessity. Sometimes it's intentional, but in Lagos, I feel like it's born out of necessity. I wake up in the morning and my reality is there's no electricity. I have to go search for fuel to power my generator. The kids are coming back from school, they can't do their homework because there's no power. Sometimes I have to go fetch water from the neighbor's house to take a shower. This is my reality. So I become innovative. And these are the kind of things that people are doing in Lagos. There's so many different things, but we just thought that to show how futuristic the social innovation is, I'm going to just pick out 3 of these examples. The first one, if you can just change the slide, is We Cyclers. We Cyclers essentially is saying, how do we get people to be more accountable in their environment? How do we look at environment from a more sustainable point of view? So what they do is they send these guys with the bicycles to go and pick up waste from domestic houses, and the houses, based on the volume of waste that they can give, gets points for recycling. And this is a very low and cost-effective way of recycling, essentially, which is something that is a foreign concept to us in Lagos State. And the waste management is, although the government is trying, is quite appalling. We don't have good drainages or anything like that. Another example is the co-creation hub. Some of you have heard about it, and I know a lot of you are speaking about hubs in terms of space. For us, Lagos is a hub because so much is happening for collaboration. But one of the things that co-creation does, which is to look at our social issues and essentially try and apply technology to solving those social issues. Some of the things that have come out of the Co-Creation Hub are butt club exercises, and so how do we get kids to start thinking about socially innovating using technology? Or another example is budgets. How do we get the government to give us more access to the information that we need? The third example that I'm going to just talk about real quickly is Afri-Nolly. Most of you know that our Nollywood industry, our film industry, is quite big and it's quite popular. But I personally, and if you are in Nigeria, you understand that we are not necessarily using Nollywood in the way we can, because there is everything that is done within Nollywood is independently done. There are no policies to give us an enabling environment to do anything. However, there are people who are saying, how do we despite the policy gap or implementation gap, start to to use Nollywood, this massive platform, to reach out to people, to disseminate information, to share knowledge, and to generate knowledge. And AfroNol is trying to do that using film and photography and traditional and new media. And so what does this mean for us? This is where I come and give you a very quick example. Ori and I are part of a working group that is trying to develop a hub called the Printing Press Hub. We don't have a name for this hub, but one thing that we do know is supposed to address people that are within the urban sector, the creative sector, as well as bring about research. We need to change the narrative of what's coming out of Lagos. It is a city that is vibrant. It is a city that has economic power. But one of the things that we do know is that there are people there who have problems, and these are deeply entrenched problems that are born out of poverty. And this space essentially is creating a platform that can link that. Okay, this space is a place that is creating a platform that has satellites that can plug into all the social innovation activities that are going on around and amplify them. And currently, we're just in the stage of trying to conceptualize the application of this space. What is it going to look like? And the fact that we're thinking about spaces like this is why social innovation is so important to Lagos and to us as a people who have all these social issues that we're riddled by every day. So this is Lagos for us, and this is social innovation in a very, very minute way, because it's ridiculous to speak about Lagos in 10 minutes, but we've tried to do that, and I hope we were able to do that successfully. Thank you.